how many hours of wedding photography is enough? How do you know how much you really need? Stick around and find out. So we're going to start with understanding some wedding photography verbiage. When searching for that perfect photographer, you're most likely going to notice that the studios and photographers that you come across online use different verbiage. So some photographers use different verbiage like half day, full day, or all day instead of listing out the actual numbers of hours that they include in their packages. So this can be pretty confusing because half day, full day, and all day mean different things to different photographers. So you don't want to assume that all day is 12, 10, or 8 hours when in fact it's something entirely different. And I also want to make a note that when you're looking at the hours of coverage, they are continuous. Photographers don't have 2 hours of coverage in the morning, take an hour break, pick up for 3 hours, take another hour break, and then pick up for the ceremony or reception. It's all done in one shot. So let's go ahead and talk about the hours specifically. Let's just go ahead, jump right in, and get into the coverage recommendations. It's the most important part, right? So we recommend at least 6 hours of coverage. This being said, every wedding is different. So you're going to need some less hours and more hours just depending on what you desire. So it depends on the flow of the day and if you're going to go into the city for portraits, if you want getting ready photos or not. I've had more than one client that say that getting ready photos don't matter to them, so they don't need to pay for the hours for that. Keep these things in mind. Also the length of your reception. If you want your photographer to stay through the entire reception and it's 5 hours, that's a pretty good chunk of time. You may want to consider having them leave an hour or so early, or generally maybe 30 minutes after cake cutting. Keep all of this in mind and think about how much you really want covered of the day, and it could save you some money. So let's get into an example. I've put together an 8 to 12 hour example for wedding day. Our base package starts at 8 hours, and it typically allows enough time for the getting ready portion all the way to the end of a reception. So you'll see in this example that I'm about to give you that the coverage may need to be increased. So take notes, pay attention, or just hit the rewind button a bunch of times and you'll get it. So note as well, the first look in this example has a huge impact on the day, and it will change how your timeline is completely put together. So give yourself some time to think about if you want to see your significant other before the ceremony, or if you want to be more traditional and not see them at all, which is perfectly fine. Just know that it will change the timeline. So the example. Getting ready. That's generally where everything starts for the day. We recommend 2 to 3 hours for this. It generally allows time for the detail images such as your rings, shoes, and the gown, stuff like that, and getting ready photos of both of you. So it would be you with your girls and him or another her with their bridal party. And it typically happens in about 2 to 3 hours. It's a pretty good amount of coverage. You'd be surprised that hair and makeup can take much longer than you anticipate, so make sure and note that one, at least 2 hours. The next thing we're going to talk about is the first look. So if you are going to have a first look, we recommend 1.5 to 2 hours. This allows for the first look itself, and it gives you some time to be with your significant other peacefully alone for a little bit. You'd be surprised that at wedding days you don't really get any time with your significant other one-on-one, because once you see each other after the ceremony, you're around people, everyone's wanting to give hugs and gifts, and it's all wonderful, but you don't have any time just to soak in the day with that person. So in a first look, the biggest thing that really comes down to the timeline is you get to have all of your family formals and the big full bridal party formals at this time. So getting that out of the way helps after the ceremony, which I will talk about in a second, and it also gives you more opportunity to have couples portraits. So let's get to the ceremony. We put a half an hour buffer in there. Generally ceremonies only last about 15 to 20 minutes, but we always put the buffer in there because sometimes the day is running a little bit behind, or the ceremony itself could run a little bit over. So post-ceremony would be up next, and we recommend 1 to 3 hours. So this is where it depends on if you're going to have a first look or not. So if you did have a first look, you've already got your family formals and the bridal party formals all taken care of. Everybody can head into cocktail hour if they want to. If you see an Aunt Susan that you want to have a picture with that's an extraneous family formal, we can obviously grab it at that time, but it's also another opportunity with longer time for you to get those couples portraits. And if you're obsessed with Pinterest and you want to have some gorgeous, gorgeous pictures for your album, this is the perfect time to do that. If you're okay with it and you're not really obsessed with it, you can actually go and enjoy cocktail hour with the rest of your guests, which is generally not something bride and grooms get to do because they don't do a first look. So here's where, if you don't do a first look, think about in cocktail hour, it's generally 1 hour, sometimes 1.5, but 2 is really pushing it. In that cocktail hour, you have to get the family formals, the couples portraits, and all the bridal party formals, all squished into that timeline. So that's where everything can kind of get tight, and if the day is running behind, this is where things get really stressful because you're trying to squeeze everything into maybe 30 minutes instead of the full hour because hair and makeup ran late in the morning. It can get a little bit crazy, but we're kind of used to it. Just make sure that your photographer has done several weddings and that they can handle themselves under pressure. So after we have the post-ceremony, it's time for the reception, and that's generally between 4 and 5 hours. Some receptions are shorter, some receptions are longer. You just need to base the amount of time for your timeline off of the reception time that was scheduled from your venue. So when you get your venue contract, it should say if you have it from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m., which was mine because I had a morning wedding, or it could be from 1 p.m. till 10 p.m. Just take a look at how many hours you're working with to begin with, and that's the best place to start when you start allocating how many hours of photography that you need. So again, this is 8 to 12 hours of a wedding day, and if you found this video helpful, please hit the like button, leave us a comment below, let us know what you liked best, and be sure to hit the subscribe button so you can see more of our content. I hope you liked this, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.